Friends, do you know how Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, mentioned in the Heart Sutra, practices? What I'm about to share may be quite different from what you've heard before. Take from it what resonates with you. What I tell you might not align with your usual thinking and understanding at first glance, but it could be the correct path leading you to true enlightenment and awakening. All right, let's begin. I believe many of you have heard various interpretations of the Heart Sutra. Most focus heavily on the word emptiness. Have you ever felt that despite hearing many teachings about emptiness, you still don't know how to apply emptiness in practical life? In fact, the key point of the Heart Sutra isn't about the word emptiness. Otherwise, why doesn't the Diamond Sutra mention emptiness even once? Actually, clinging to explanations of emptiness is itself a mistake. It's being attached to the appearance of words, just like the word nothingness in the Tao Te Ching. Emptiness and nothingness are realms realized through continuous experience and practice. That is, when deeply practicing Prajnaparamita. So emptiness is a result. It's not the cause nor the method. No matter how deeply you understand emptiness, in the end, these understandings can't help you resolve your karmic entanglements or eliminate your afflictions. In reality, the emotional issues that constantly trap you in life originate from the judgments that arise in your mind. When judgments arise, the self appears. Once the self appears, all problems follow. So if you can make this self disappear, you'll find that everything is fine, with no issues needing your solution. The Heart Sutra reveals this truth with one phrase: all five aggregates are empty. What are the five aggregates? They are all the information about the external world that you receive through your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. That's form. This information transforms within you into various flowing emotional energies. That's feeling. Your reactions triggered by converting external information into different emotional energies. That's perception. The behaviors produced under the combined effect of form, feeling, and perception, that's mental formations. Finally, your mind assigns various labels to your physical body in the external world. That's consciousness. You see, combined, these five aggregates are precisely the self we usually cling to. Emptying the five aggregates means emptying the self. That is, realizing no self. With no self, all afflictions and sufferings arising from the self disappear. Ultimately, the mind becomes unobstructed. Now here's the question: how can we empty this self? Let's see how Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva in the Heart Sutra practices. That's right, by deeply practicing Prajnaparamita. In other words, constantly practicing the ultimate wisdom, Prajna wisdom in daily life. What is Prajna wisdom? Simply put, it's observing all things as they are, understanding the ultimate laws governing all occurrences and operations. This is Prajna wisdom. Deeply practicing Prajna wisdom means profoundly practicing and verifying Prajna wisdom in real life. This is what the Diamond Sutra refers to as conducting such observation. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva steadfastly maintains such observation amid karmic entanglements and manifestations, achieving an unmoved state, generating the mind without attachment. Thus, one can perceive that the five aggregates are empty, realize no self, and transcend all suffering. Hearing this, do you suddenly realize that all you need to do is quietly observe everything as it is, the happenings and operations of all things, without being carried away by any thoughts or judgments in the mind? This is clarifying the mind and seeing the nature. It's the ultimate method to enter the realm of no self. In a sense, true cultivation isn't about doing something to obtain something. On the contrary, it's about maintaining such observation amid life's impermanence, keeping the mind unstained, ultimately achieving nothing to attain. This is the inherent Buddha nature, complete and perfect. Only because one cannot conduct such observation and seeks to attain, one cannot see. If you can conduct such observation, you are Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. If you can't, you're an ordinary person suffering in attachment. Having said this, some might ask, in everyday life, how can we avoid judgments? Don't we need to make choices and evaluations when we act? Well, pay attention. The judgments I'm referring to are those your brain makes without your consent. Active analyses, summaries, and definitions, not the conscious decisions you make using the brain as a tool under awareness. Though both involve the brain working, there's a fundamental difference. The former is when the person moves and the mind moves too. The latter is when the person moves, but the mind remains unmoved. Let me ask you, in activities like eating, sleeping, working, investing, socializing, etc., do you need the brain's judgments? The answer is no. When studying or working, you're using or training your brain under awareness. You don't need active judgments from the brain, because once you identify with these judgments, a self composed of the 5 aggregates arises. This self consumes the consciousness that was observing and experiencing, leading you into afflictions and suffering. Remember, we rely on awareness and the brain and body working under awareness. Our most effective tools, not on automatic obsessions and judgments, nor the emotions they generate. Unconscious judgments in your mind are the real reason you can't observe things as they are. They're the biggest obstacles hindering your awakening. Next, I'll explain how to proactively practice such observation in daily life. I'll share 3 practical methods. If you persist in practicing them, I believe you'll become Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, able to transcend all suffering. Remember, cultivation without real-life validation is only mental cultivation, not real practice. First, the method, jumping out of reactions. Remember this, all instinctive reactions are a form of enslavement. Only conscious responses are true freedom. When you fall into unconscious automatic reactions, you cease to be an experiencer, an observer of things as they are. So what are these reactions? They are the memories, associations, comparisons, definitions, judgments, and ego demands that unconsciously arise. All emotions and actions produced under these mental activities are your reactions. Reflect carefully and you'll find that most of your mental and physical activities stem from instinctive mechanical reactions without active participation from your consciousness. A word from someone might trigger an immediate reaction. Images on TV, game plots, scenes you witness, random events, messages you receive, texts you read, food you eat, water you drink, gossip you hear, even unexpected scenery, all cause continuous automatic reactions. These happen quietly beyond your awareness. They aren't actions you consciously choose and allow under awareness. Often you don't know what you're doing at the moment. Isn't that chilling? That's why there's a saying, many people are alive, but they're already dead. Here as dead refers to living unconsciously in automatic reactions and societal habits. When you instinctively react without self-awareness, you're dwelling in the 5 aggregates. Your life consciousness is consumed by habits, transforming into an ego. This ego is the root of all your suffering. So how can we continuously jump out of reactions through practice? First, as the saying goes, don't fear the arising of thoughts, just fear being late to become aware. Realize as early as possible that you've reacted, then consciously identify each reaction. Quietly observe them as they are, allowing these reactions to flow under your awareness. Let your present awareness take charge, leading ahead of the ego. When you separate from these automatic reactions, you naturally stay with awareness and act accordingly. This is what we call jumping out of reactions. If you ask, often I don't realize I've fallen into automatic reactions. What should I do? It's simple. You know when you're caught up in emotions, right? Start from when you realize you're in emotions again. I'll share 2 methods to train the mind proactively. You can try them. As you achieve your goals, you'll get closer to being aware at the very moment you react. First method, choose training scenarios in places with people. Restaurants, markets, cinemas, malls, streets. Observe anyone and their behavior at any time while being vigilant of your mind. Initially, you'll be amazed at the thoughts, definitions, judgments popping up automatically. That person's skin is bad. He speaks so rudely. She's dressed sloppily. He looks wealthy. I like her figure, etc. Immediately identify these thoughts in the present moment. Remember, don't judge your judgments. Just see, accept, and allow what's occurring in your mind. When you fully accept your mind and observe everything as it is, you'll find these thoughts disappear. Once consciousness regains control, you can move to the next step. Quietly watch the people before you without mental interference. Stay in this peaceful state without dualistic opposition for a while. Yes, this is one of the best ways to raise awareness and practice such observation. You can also observe everything that enters your life: trees, flowers, ants, kittens. At first, you'll find it hard not to judge and just observe. But with continuous practice, identifying and accepting automatic thoughts, you'll bring yourself closer to life's true nature. The second mind training. Be aware of thoughts that appear without permission. Once you realize you've started automatic thinking, compassionately grant them permission. Remember, in your higher consciousness, there's only allowing and accepting, no prohibition. Like lighting a lamp in a dark room, the light doesn't forbid darkness, but embraces it entirely. Isn't that so? Next, let's discuss another method: peeling away the ego. What is the ego? Simply unobserved mental activities are the ego. You exist in the ego form because you haven't become aware of them. Can you stay vigilant of the appearance of these selves at all times, quietly observing them without interference until they silently pass and disappear? This is the key to perceiving that the five aggregates are empty and transcending all suffering. There's no complicated theory or method, only your innate function of awareness and observing things as they are. So how do we apply this in real life? How can we, when unconscious, quickly regain awareness and return to focused, peaceful, present moment experience? We need to train specifically. Always be aware of the self appearing in your mind. Maintain awareness of what's truly happening now. Know when you've lost consciousness and are dwelling on an ego obsession. Be aware that your words and actions may unconsciously nourish and enlarge an ego. But first, we face a tricky problem. These egos are cunning. They disguise as natural, ordinary thoughts, making it hard to notice them when they arise. If you can't become aware of their emergence, you'll unconsciously identify with them, losing free consciousness. Hooked by these selves, you exist in their form, transforming into a body of suffering, the beginning of all afflictions. So what should we do? Don't worry, there's a simple method to identify these cunning egos. Target the results they bring. The result is the energy flowing in our bodies, our emotions. Remember, all your emotions result from one or several obsessions. Once you identify with an obsession, you'll immediately fall into emotions. So how specifically? First, accurately identify the specific emotion flowing within you. Knowing which energy and its frequency allows you to trace back until you grasp the ego causing trouble behind it. A simple training method is, when you realize emotions have arisen, be it joy, pride, sadness, anger, anxiety, fear, disappointment, inferiority, calmly allow and accept these emotions. Don't assign negative definitions or judgments to yourself. Instead, view any emotional occurrence as a valuable opportunity towards awakening. Then immediately find the relationship between your current emotion and the ego. The method is, once you feel an emotion arising, try to temporarily step out of all mental thinking and observe as a neutral party. What thoughts are repeatedly appearing in your mind? Until you clearly see the true face of an ego obsession, continue maintaining this neutral perspective. Like a recorder, objectively describe the self-thought your mind has created. When you repeatedly succeed in observing everything as it is, without judgments, calmly facing any thoughts in your mind, you'll find these thoughts are feelings or needs of the ego. For example, sadness arises because I lost something. Anger arises because I was offended or hurt. Anxiety arises because I worry about unmet future expectations. Fear arises because I fear possible future outcomes. Disappointment arises because I have unmet needs or expectations. Inferiority arises because I, in comparison with others, failed to meet certain accepted standards. You see, almost all emotions arise due to the appearance of I. When we stand as a neutral observer, quietly watching this self, we transcend thought and separate from the self. These ego obsessions will gradually disappear under your unmoving observation. The emotions rampaging within you will stop flowing without energy input. Your inner self returns to peace. From past and future, you return to the present moment. This is deeply practicing Prajnaparamita in the Heart Sutra. By observing in this way amid the mundane world, you can perceive that the five aggregates are empty and transcend all suffering. Finally, there's a simple and effective method to cultivate no self. In daily speech, stay vigilant about the self appearing in your expressions. When you realize you're about to say a sentence starting with I, maintain awareness. Don't let these I-centered sentences pop out automatically. Let them follow awareness. You can consciously train yourself to avoid using I as the subject. Try replacing habitual expressions like, I think, I want, I did this, I was treated like this, etc. These sentences invisibly nourish and strengthen the ego. Replace them with objective, truthful statements about what happens in the world. When you train yourself this way, bringing awareness into daily conversations, you'll find that many habitual expressions, once under awareness, silently flow through your mind before being spoken. This is the transformation that cultivation brings, a true unity of knowledge and action. All right, thank you very much for listening. I hope this has touched and inspired you. See you next time.